The champagne flute shattered against marble, crystal fragments catching afternoon light like dying stars. Beatriz Mendez stared at her laptop screen, jaw clenched, reading the headline for the third time. Bennett Enterprises acquires Green Tech Solutions. 400 jobs eliminated. Bastard, she whispered, her Brazilian accent sharp with fury. Jackson Bennett's photograph stared back from the article. Ice blue eyes, sharp jawline, the kind of face that belonged on currency. Cold, calculating, untouchable. At 28, Beatrice had built her reputation at Forbes by exposing the corrupt, the powerful, the untouchable. But Bennett was different. 8 years without a single interview, 4 rejected requests, a legal team that crushed journalists like insects. Her phone buzzed. Thomas Maxwell, editor-in-chief. Emergency meeting, 1 hour. Bring everything you have on Bennett. The Forbes conference room fell silent when she entered. Maxwell's weathered face was grim, surrounded by senior editors whose skepticism filled the air like smoke. 5 minutes, Mendez. Convince me why we risk everything on this. Beatrice connected her laptop to the projector, hands steadier than her racing heart. Jackson Bennett isn't just ruthless. He's systematically destroying innovation in renewable energy. I have documentation proving he acquires companies not to improve them, but to eliminate competition for a secret project called Aurora. Maxwell leaned forward. What kind of project? Artificial intelligence integrated with renewable energy distribution. Revolutionary technology. And he's suppressing it while publicly supporting environmental initiatives. I have sources inside Bennett Enterprises willing to talk. Sarah Chen, features editor, cut in. Sources don't matter if he won't talk to you. The man's a ghost. Beatrice smiled, feeling the familiar thrill of the hunt ignite in her chest. I already have a plan for that. 2 weeks later, she stood behind the bar at the Meridian Club's charity gala, hands steady as she polished champagne flutes. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over designer gowns and perfectly tailored tuxedos. She'd spent 3 summers bartending through college. Muscle memory kicked in as she prepared cocktails with professional efficiency. The atmosphere shifted suddenly. Conversations faltered. Guests turned toward the entrance like sunflowers tracking light. Jackson Bennett had arrived. Photographs hadn't captured his presence. The way space bent around him as people instinctively stepped aside. He was taller than expected, broad shoulders filling a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her annual rent. Dark hair perfectly styled, those infamous blue eyes cataloging every detail. 3 assistants flanked him like bodyguards, movements choreographed to perfection. Beatrice watched him navigate obligatory conversations, his body language screaming boredom. Every smile calculated, every handshake timed to the second. This was a man who viewed social interaction as a necessary evil. When he finally approached the bar, she was ready. Bourbon, neat. He didn't look at her, fingers flying over his phone screen. Beatrice selected the most expensive bottle, pouring with theatrical precision. She handed him the glass, deliberately letting her fingers brush his. The contact made him look up. Those penetrating eyes focused on her with laser intensity. You're not the regular bartender. Not a question. A statement delivered with absolute confidence. Temporary replacement, Beatrice replied, affecting casualness while her pulse raced. Maria caught the flu. Bennett nodded, already losing interest as he returned to his phone. She had seconds. Must be exhausting, she said conversationally. What? He didn't look up. Being Jackson Bennett, maintaining that fortress of solitude while the world burns around you. His head snapped up, blue eyes bored into hers with intensity that made her step back involuntarily. The air between them crackled. You know who I am. He pocketed his phone with deliberate slowness. Beatrice shrugged, feigning indifference despite her hammering heart. Everyone knows who you are, the billionaire who treats companies like chess pieces and employees like collateral damage. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. And that's your professional assessment? As a bartender? The condescension in his voice was exactly what she'd expected. Beatrice leaned across the bar, closing the distance until she could see gold flecks in his blue eyes. Actually, that's my assessment as Beatrice Mendez, Forbes investigative reporter, writing an exposé on you and your Aurora project. Bennett's smile vanished instantly. His expression turned arctic. You're trespassing. Technically, I was legitimately hired by the catering company. Adrenaline sang through her veins. I make excellent mojitos, by the way. What do you want? His voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. An interview. Exclusive access. Bennett laughed without humor. No. I'll publish the story anyway. I have sources inside your company. Documentation about Aurora's real purpose. She watched his jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. The public deserves to know how you're manipulating the renewable energy market. A muscle twitched in his temple. My legal team will destroy you and that magazine if you publish a single unsubstantiated claim. Then give me the substantiated version. 1 hour, no restrictions. 15 minutes, with my communications director present. 30 minutes, just us. But you can veto sensitive information before publication. Bennett studied her for a long moment, calculating variables in an impossibly complex equation. Another guest approached the bar, breaking the spell. Beatrice served them quickly, never taking her eyes off Bennett. Tomorrow, my office. 20 minutes, he said finally. And if I discover you've recorded our conversation without permission, I'll make destroying your career my personal mission. Deal. He turned to leave, then stopped, looking back with something that might have been curiosity. Everything they say about me is true, you know. Beatrice couldn't resist. And what do they say? That I'm ruthless. That I have no heart. His smile was sharp as a blade. I pity any woman foolish enough to try changing me. Before she could respond, he melted back into the crowd. She'd secured the interview she'd fought so hard for, but standing there, champagne glass trembling in her hand, Beatrice felt like she'd just lost the opening round of a game whose rules she didn't understand. Bennett Enterprises occupied 40 floors of gleaming, Manhattan steel and glass that pierced the skyline like a spear. Beatrice arrived 15 minutes early. Her reflection multiplied endlessly in the lobby's mirrored surfaces. Everything was designed to intimidate. 20-foot ceilings, marble floors that clicked ominously under her heels. The receptionist examined Beatrice's credentials with practiced disdain. 85th floor. Miss Park will meet you at the elevator. The elevator's ascent felt like traveling to another realm. When the doors whispered open, Grace Park stood waiting with military precision. Black suit perfectly tailored. Posture unnaturally straight, Ms. Mendez, follow me. No recording devices. No photographs. Mr. Bennett has generously agreed to 20 minutes. Not a second more. They walked through corridors lined with abstract art worth more than most people's homes. Employees scattered like startled birds when Grace approached. The office doors opened to reveal floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. The city spread beneath them like a conquered kingdom. Jackson stood with his back to her, silhouetted against the skyline. That will be all, Grace. Grace hesitated. Sir, protocol requires... Leave us. The doors clicked shut with funeral finality. Jackson turned slowly. In the harsh daylight, he looked different. Tired. Shadows under those famous blue eyes suggesting sleepless nights. But his posture remained predatory, coiled, ready. You have courage, I'll give you that. Crashing a private event, lying your way into my presence. He gestured to a chair. Or stupidity. I haven't decided which. Beatrice sat, pulling out her notepad. Let's start with Aurora. What is it really? You already think you know. He moved to his desk, fingers drumming against the polished surface. Why waste my time asking? Because I want to hear you admit it. That you're buying innovative companies just to bury their technology. That hundreds of families are suffering because of your greed. Something flickered across his face. Too quick to identify. Greed. He laughed bitterly. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then enlighten me. Jackson stared at her for a long moment, then made a decision that seemed to surprise even himself. He pressed a button on his desk. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a hidden room bathed in blue light. Computer screens lined every surface, displaying complex algorithms and energy grid maps. Come here. Beatrice's instincts screamed warning, but curiosity overrode caution. She followed him into the room. The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss. This is Aurora, Jackson said quietly. Not a weapon, not a market manipulation scheme, a solution. He pulled up data on the main screen. Climate projections, energy consumption rates, catastrophic timelines. In 15 years, our current energy infrastructure will collapse under demand. Wars will be fought over resources. Billions will suffer. His voice was raw, stripped of corporate polish. Aurora is an AI system that integrates renewable energy sources into a global network. Self-optimizing, self-sustaining, it could save millions of lives. Beatrice stared at the projections, her certainty wavering. Then why the secrecy? Why destroy the companies developing similar technology? Jackson's jaw clenched. Because they're doing it wrong. Rushing to market with unstable systems that will fail catastrophically when we need them most. I'm not destroying innovation. I'm preventing disaster. By playing God, deciding who gets to innovate and who doesn't. By taking responsibility when no one else will. He turned to face her fully, and she saw something unexpected in his eyes. Pain. Deep and old. My father died in a power grid failure 12 years ago. Hospital life support systems went dark during a heatwave blackout. He wasn't alone. 47 people died that day because our infrastructure couldn't handle the demand. The revelation hung between them like smoke. I'm sorry, Beatrice said softly. But that doesn't justify what? Preventing another disaster. Those 400 jobs you're so concerned about? I offered every single employee positions in other divisions. 90% accepted. The rest received severance packages worth 3 years' salary. But that doesn't make headlines, does it? Billionaire actually tries to save the world isn't as compelling as corporate monster destroys lives. Beatrice's notebook felt heavy in her hands. You're still making unilateral decisions that affect millions. Who gave you that right? The same people who gave you the right to destroy reputations with a pen. His voice was sharp again. We both wield power, Ms. Mendez. The only difference is, I'm honest about the cost. She stood, meeting his gaze without flinching. If Aurora is really about saving lives, why not partner with governments? Work transparently? Because governments move at glacial speed while the planet burns. Because committees and bureaucracy and political posturing will delay this until it's too late. He stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker. Sometimes one person has to make the hard choice. That sounds lonely. It is. The admission surprised them both. For a moment, the armor cracked. Beatrice saw not the corporate titan, but a man carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders by choice. If I publish what you've shown me, she said carefully, it changes everything. The narrative, public perception. I know. Then why tell me? Why risk it? Jackson's smile was sad. Because maybe I'm tired of being the villain. Or maybe because when you looked at me last night, you saw a person instead of a monster. That hasn't happened in a very long time. Beatrice's breath caught. The air between them felt charged, dangerous. Her phone buzzed. Text from Maxwell. Status update now. The spell broke. I need to think about this, she said, gathering her things. Process everything. Take your time. But Ms. Mendez? Jackson's voice stopped her at the door. Whatever you decide to write, make sure it's the truth. Not just the version that sells magazines. She turned back. And if the truth is that you're right, that Aurora is necessary, then you'll have to decide if you're brave enough to defend me. The world loves tearing down powerful men. Defending one might destroy your credibility. Is that a threat? It's a warning, from someone who knows the cost of standing alone. Beatrice left his office with her head spinning, the notebook clutched against her chest like armor. She had 24 hours to file her story. Maxwell was expecting the exposé that would make her career. But as the elevator descended, taking her away from Jackson's glass fortress, she couldn't shake the image of his eyes. The pain behind the ice, the loneliness behind the power. Her phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown number. You asked who gave me the right to make these decisions. I'm giving you the same choice now. You have the power to destroy me or help save millions. Choose wisely. The world is watching. Her hands trembled as she deleted the message. In her apartment that night, Beatrice stared at her laptop screen, cursor blinking. Deadline approaching. 2 versions of the story sprawled across her. Desk. The exposé that would destroy Jackson Bennett and make her famous, or the truth that would brand her a corporate apologist and possibly end her career. She picked up her phone, scrolling to Jackson's contact. Her finger hovered over the call button. Then she saw the second message that had come through. Not from Jackson, from an anonymous source inside Bennett Enterprises. If you're reading this, he got to you. Don't believe the Aurora story. It's a cover. I have proof of what he's really doing. Meet me tomorrow. Come alone. This is bigger than you know. Beatrice's blood ran cold. Someone was lying, and she had no idea who to trust. The coffee shop was in Brooklyn, far from Manhattan's corporate towers. Beatrice sat in the back corner, watching rain streak the windows. The anonymous source had chosen well. Dark, crowded, easy to disappear. A woman slid into the seat across from her. Late 30s, sharp features, expensive but understated clothing. Her eyes darted nervously to the door. I'm Elena Voss, former lead engineer on Aurora. Beatrice's recorder sat between them, red light blinking. You said you have proof Jackson is lying. Elena pulled out a flash drive, setting it on the table like a grenade. Aurora isn't what he told you. Yes, it's an AI energy system, but that's not its primary function. Then what is? Control. Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. Aurora doesn't just optimize energy distribution. It monitors it. Every device connected to the grid. Every home. Every business. Jackson is building a surveillance network disguised as environmental salvation. Beatrice's stomach turned cold. That's impossible. The data requirements alone are handled by quantum computing arrays he acquired through those company buyouts you investigated. Elena leaned forward. Think about it. Why else would he need that much processing power? Why the secrecy? He's not saving the world. He's controlling it. The flash drive sat between them like accusation. Why come to me? Beatrice asked. Why not go public yourself? I tried. His legal team buried me in NDAs and threatened criminal charges. But you have the platform, the credibility. Elena's eyes were desperate. I have families who trusted me working on this project. They don't know what they're building. Someone has to stop him. Beatrice picked up the flash drive. It felt heavy as sin. There are encrypted files, schematics, internal communications proving he knows exactly what Aurora really is. Elena stood. Publish this. Show the world who Jackson Bennett really is. She disappeared into the crowd before Beatrice could ask more questions. Back in her apartment, Beatrice plugged in the flash drive. Files flooded her screen. Technical documents, encrypted emails, communication logs between Jackson and his development team. One email made her blood freeze. Aurora's surveillance capabilities exceed initial projections. Full grid integration will provide unprecedented access to consumer data. Proceed with Phase 2 implementation. It was signed by Jackson. Her hands shook as she scrolled through more documents. Each one painted a darker picture. The man who'd shown her vulnerability, who'd shared his pain about his father, who'd looked at her like she mattered, all of it might have been manipulation. Her phone rang. Jackson. She almost didn't answer. I need to see you. His voice was urgent. Tonight. It's important. I'm busy. Beatrice, please. Something's happened. I can't explain over the phone. The use of her first name made her pause. He'd never used it before. Where? My penthouse. I'll send a car. Every instinct screamed danger, but she had to look him in the eyes. Had to know if everything between them had been a lie. The penthouse occupied the building's entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the glittering Manhattan skyline, but Beatrice barely noticed. Jackson stood by the windows, shoulders tense, still wearing his suit from work. He turned when she entered. His face was haggard, eyes red-rimmed. Someone's trying to sabotage Aurora, he said without preamble. Encrypted files were stolen from our servers, altered, distributed to media contacts. Beatrice's heart stopped. The flash drive burned in her pocket. What kind of alterations? Making it look like Aurora is a surveillance system. Like I'm building Big Brother disguised as environmental technology. He laughed bitterly. It's genius, actually. Take real technical documents and add fabricated communications. Just enough truth to make the lies believable. He moved to the bar, pouring bourbon with shaking hands. I know how this looks. Powerful CEO caught red-handed, claims he's being framed. It's the oldest play in the book. He downed the drink in one swallow. But I need you to believe me. I need someone to believe me. Beatrice pulled out the flash drive, setting it on the counter between them. Jackson stared at it, then at her. You have it. Not a question. A devastation. Someone gave it to me. Elena Voss. She said you were lying about Aurora. Elena. Jackson's voice went flat. Of course. She showed me emails, communications, your signature on documents authorizing surveillance capabilities. Forged. He picked up the flash drive, examining it like a venomous snake. Elena was fired 6 months ago for trying to sell Aurora's core algorithms to Chinese investors. I had proof. She disappeared before criminal charges could be filed. Beatrice's world tilted. She seemed desperate, genuine. She's a brilliant engineer and a better liar. Jackson met her eyes. She's also working for Marcus Chen, my former business partner, the man I pushed out of the company 5 years ago for attempting the exact kind of surveillance capitalism she's now accusing me of. The room felt too small, too hot. How do I know you're not lying? Beatrice whispered. How do I know any of this is real? Jackson's face crumbled. For a moment, he looked utterly defeated. You don't. That's the hell of it. He moved closer, stopping just short of touching her. I could show you forensic analysis proving the documents are forged. Character witnesses, security footage of Elena meeting with Chen. But you'd wonder if I fabricated all of it. Then why tell me anything? Why bring me into this? Because last night, when you looked at me, I felt human again. His voice cracked. For 8 years, I've been alone in this fight, trusting no one. And then you crashed into my life with your fire and your conviction and your absolute certainty that I was the villain. It was almost refreshing. He reached out, fingers trembling, and touched her face gently. I'm asking you to take a leap of faith. Trust me when I have no right to ask. Help me expose Chen and Elena before they destroy everything I've built to save. Beatrice's breath came short. His hand was warm against her skin. She could smell his cologne, see the gold flecks in his eyes. Every cell in her body screamed confusion. And if I choose wrong? She asked. If I trust you and you're the monster everyone thinks you are? Then you'll destroy me with your next article. And I'll deserve it. The space between them evaporated. His lips found hers with desperate intensity. She kissed him back, pouring 8 years of his loneliness and her confusion and the terrible uncertainty into the contact. His hands tangled in her hair. Her fingers gripped his jacket. It was wrong, dangerous, possibly the worst decision of her life. She didn't care. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Jackson rested his forehead against hers. Help me, he whispered. Please. Beatrice made her choice. Right or wrong, she was in this now. Tell me everything. Every detail about Chen. About Elena. About Aurora. She pulled back enough to look him in the eyes. And if I find out you lied to me, I won't just destroy your career. I'll make sure you never recover. Jackson's smile was sad and grateful. Deal. They spent the next 3 hours going through documents. Security footage showing Elena meeting with Marcus Chen in Tokyo. Forensic analysis of the altered files. Communication logs proving Elena's attempted sale of Aurora's code. It all checked out. Beatrice should have felt relieved. Instead, unease coiled in her stomach. At 2 a.m., Jackson fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from days of fighting this invisible war. Beatrice covered him with a blanket, studying his face in repose. Vulnerable, human. She picked up his phone. Just to check one thing, one final verification. His messages were locked, but she'd watched him enter the code earlier. 6 digits, his father's death date. The phone opened. She shouldn't look. It was a violation of trust. But she had to know. She scrolled through recent messages. Business contacts. Grace Park's scheduling updates. Nothing suspicious. Then she saw a deleted folder. Recently erased. Not completely purged from the system. Her hands shook as she recovered the files. The first message was from Marcus Chen, dated 3 weeks ago. Phase 1 complete. Mendez has taken the bait. Elena played her part perfectly. Once she publishes the fake surveillance story, we'll release the truth and make you the hero. Aurora will launch with public support. The surveillance capabilities will be active just as we planned. No one will ever know. Jackson's response was a single word. Perfect. Beatrice's vision blurred. The phone slipped from her numb fingers. Everything. All of it. The vulnerability, the kiss. The desperate plea for trust. All manipulation. She looked at Jackson sleeping peacefully on the couch. The man she'd almost believed in. Almost loved. The monster was real after all, and she'd helped him win. Beatrice ran down the emergency stairs, into the rain-soaked Manhattan streets. Her lungs burned, her vision blurred with tears and betrayal. She'd been so stupid, so naive. Every moment between them had been orchestrated. The vulnerability, the kiss, the desperate plea for trust. Jackson Bennett was exactly the monster everyone said he was. Worse, because he'd made her believe otherwise. Her apartment felt like a cage. She grabbed her laptop, frantically documenting everything. The real story, not the fabricated surveillance scandal Elena had provided. Not the heroic savior narrative Jackson was planning. The truth about how they'd manipulated her to manipulate the world. At 4 a.m., her door buzzed. Then pounded. Beatrice, open the door. Jackson's voice. Desperate. Raw. She ignored it, typing faster. I know you saw the messages. Let me explain, please. The pounding continued for 10 minutes. Then silence. She finished the article as dawn broke. Every damning detail. The manipulation. The fake Elena scandal. The real surveillance network hidden in Aurora's code. Jackson's partnership with Marcus Chen. Her finger hovered over the send button. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer it, she muttered, but something made her pick up. Ms. Mendez. The voice was unfamiliar, cold. This is Marcus Chen. I believe you've stumbled into a rather complex situation. Her blood froze. How did you get this number? I get everything I want, Ms. Mendez, including your cooperation. Go to hell. Before you hang up, you should know that 3 USB drives containing fabricated evidence of your own corporate espionage have been delivered to the FBI, dated months before you ever met Jackson, showing you accepted bribes from foreign investors to destroy American companies. The room spun. That's insane. No one would believe. They'll believe what I make them believe. Just like you believe Jackson was the villain. Just like the world will believe whatever story we feed them. His voice was smooth as poison. Unless you'd like to reconsider your article. You want me to bury the truth. I want you to publish exactly what we planned. The fake surveillance scandal. Then Jackson heroically disproves it. Aurora launches with public support. Everyone wins, except the millions of people you'll be spying on. Oh, Ms. Mendez, we already are. Every phone, every laptop, every smart device. We've been watching for years. Aurora just makes it official. Legal. Accepted. He paused. Your choice is simple. Cooperate and continue your career. Refuse and spend the next decade in federal prison for crimes you didn't commit. The line went dead. Beatrice stared at her laptop screen. The article that would expose everything. That would also destroy her life. Her door burst open. She spun, heart hammering. Jackson stood there, soaked from rain, looking like he'd been through war. Grace Park stood behind him, taser drawn. I'm sorry, Grace said quietly. He insisted. Jackson waved her off. Leave us. Grace hesitated, then withdrew, closing the door. You broke into my apartment. Grace has keys to every property in Manhattan. Jackson moved closer. I had to see you. Had to explain. Explain what? That you and Marcus Chen have been playing me from the start? That everything between us was a lie? It started as manipulation. His voice was raw. Marcus approached me 6 months ago. Said he'd expose Aurora's real capabilities unless I helped him gain public acceptance for the surveillance network. I refused. He threatened to destroy everything. My company, my father's legacy, Aurora itself. He ran his hands through wet hair, looking lost. So I agreed to his plan. Use you to discredit the surveillance concerns, then emerge as the hero. Aurora launches. Chen gets his control network. I keep my empire. Jackson met her eyes. But I didn't count on you. Don't. Her voice broke. Don't you dare make this about feelings. I'm not. I'm making it about choice. He pulled out a small device. A hard drive. This contains everything. The real Aurora code. Proof of Chen's surveillance network. Evidence of his blackmail. Communications showing I was coerced. He set it on her desk next to her laptop. Chen called you. I know he did. He's probably threatening prison. Ruin. Everything you've worked for. How do you? Because that's his pattern. He destroys people who threaten him. And right now, you're the biggest threat he has. Jackson moved to the window, staring at the awakening city. I have a choice too. Keep playing along. Let Aurora launch with Chen's surveillance code. Stay rich and powerful and empty. He turned back to her. Or destroy everything I've built to stop him. Lose my company. Probably face criminal charges for the illegal things I've done trying to finish Aurora. Spend years in court proving I was coerced. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm asking you to make the same sacrifice. His voice was steady now, resolved. Publish the truth. All of it. Chen's surveillance network. My coercion. The whole rotten system. Yes, you'll face the false charges he threatened, but I'll face them with you. My legal team, my resources, everything I have to clear your name and expose him. Beatrice stared at him. You're asking me to risk everything on your word. After you lied to me. No, I'm asking you to risk everything because it's right. Because someone has to stand up to people like Marcus Chen. Because we're the only ones who know the truth. He stepped closer. And yes, because somewhere in this nightmare of manipulation and lies, something real happened between us. At least it did for me. Your messages to Chen were insurance. Fake compliance while I gathered evidence against him. Grace has been helping me, building a case. We're almost there, but if you publish now, before we have everything, he'll disappear. The surveillance network will just resurface under someone else. Jackson's eyes were desperate. I need you to trust me one more time. Not because I deserve it, but because the alternative is letting him win. Beatrice looked at her laptop. The article that would expose everything immediately. Then at the hard drive Jackson had given her. Evidence that needed time to be verified. Corroborated. Made bulletproof. If I wait, she said slowly. If I trust you and you're lying, Chen's surveillance network goes live. Millions of people lose their privacy. Forever. Yes. And if I publish now, I go to prison on false charges. You probably escape with your empire intact. And Chen just shifts his operation underground. Also, yes, those are terrible options. Welcome to my world. Beatrice closed her laptop, then opened the hard drive Jackson had given her. Files flooded the screen. Mountains of evidence. But it would take days to verify. To build an airtight case. How long do you need? She asked. Hope flickered across Jackson's face. 1 week. Grace and I have a contact at the FBI. Someone Chen hasn't bought. But we need time to compile everything. Make it undeniable. 1 week. Beatrice met his eyes. And Jackson? If you betray me again, I won't just destroy your career. I'll dedicate my life to making sure you never have a moment of peace. I know. She moved closer, studying his face. Looking for lies, for manipulation. She found only exhaustion and something that looked like genuine fear. Why did you kiss me? She asked softly. Was that part of the plan too? Jackson's hand came up slowly, cupping her face. That was the first real thing I've done in 8 years. Maybe the first real thing I've ever done. He kissed her again. Gentler this time. Desperate in a different way. Like a man drowning and she was air. When they broke apart, Beatrice rested her head against his chest. His heartbeat was rapid. Human. Scared. 1 week, she repeated. Don't make me regret this. I won't. I promise. He left as dawn fully broke, leaving her alone with a hard drive full of evidence and a choice that would define both their futures. Beatrice spent the next 6 days buried in documents. Grace provided additional files, security footage, financial records, a web of corruption so vast it made her head spin. Maxwell called daily, demanding the article, threatening termination. She stalled, lied, played for time. On day 7, she met Jackson and Grace in an underground parking garage. Location courtesy of their FBI contact, Agent Sarah Morrison. It's time, Jackson said. We have everything. Morrison's ready to move. Where's Chen now? Aurora's launch event. Tonight. He's planning to be there when I unveil the hero narrative. Probably wants to enjoy watching his plan succeed. Grace pulled out a tablet. We've coordinated with Morrison. The moment you publish the real story, the FBI moves in. They'll arrest Chen at the event. Live on camera. Maximum public exposure. Beatrice looked at Jackson. What happens to you? I'll face charges for the corners I cut building Aurora. Probably lose the company. Spend years rebuilding my reputation. He smiled sadly. But I'll be free of Chen, and Aurora will launch clean. The real version. The one that actually saves lives. And us? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Jackson's expression softened. I'd like there to be an us. After the dust settles, if you'll have a disgraced former, billionaire who made every wrong choice for 8 years. I dated worse in college. His laugh was surprised, genuine. The first real laugh she'd heard from him, Agent. Morrison's voice crackled through the speaker. We're in position. Ms. Mendez, are you ready? Beatrice opened her laptop. The article was ready. Every damning detail. Every piece of evidence. The truth that would save millions and destroy the man standing next to her. Her finger hovered over the publish button. Wait. Jackson's voice was urgent. Before you do this, you need to know something. Her stomach dropped. What? Morrison ran a background check on you. Standard procedure. She found something. He pulled up a file on Grace's tablet. Beatrice's face stared back. But the details were wrong. Different birth date. Different history. Your identity was flagged 2 years ago. Someone's been monitoring you. Protecting you. That's impossible. It's Marcus Chen. Jackson's voice was gentle. Beatrice, I think there's something about your past you don't know. Something he's been using as leverage. And the moment you published this story, Grace's phone rang. She answered, face going white. It's Chen. He wants to talk to Beatrice. Says if she publishes, he'll reveal who she really is. What she really did. Beatrice's world tilted. I don't understand. Jackson's eyes were sad. Knowing. Neither do I. But we're about to find out. Grace held out the phone. Beatrice took it, hand trembling. Hello, daughter, Marcus Chen said. I think it's time we had a family reunion. The word hung in the air like shattered glass. Daughter. Beatrice's vision tunneled. The parking garage spun. Jackson's hand steadied her elbow, keeping her upright. That's impossible, she whispered into the phone. My father died when I was 6. Car accident in Brazil. Marcus Chen's voice was silk over razors. Your father died when you were 6, but not in Brazil, and not in an accident. You're lying, am I? Tell me, Beatrice, what do you actually remember from before age 7? Real memories, not the stories your mother told you. Her mind raced. Fragments, images without context. A different apartment, different faces, fear. Your mother, Elena Mendez, was my wife, Chen continued. We worked together at the first iteration of what would become Aurora. When I discovered she was planning to expose our surveillance capabilities, I made a choice. Eliminate the threat. But Elena ran, changed her name, yours too, raised you in Sao Paulo under false identities. Beatrice's legs gave out. Jackson caught her, lowering her gently to sit on the concrete. Your mother's death 3 years ago. That car accident? Chen's voice held mock sympathy. Not an accident. I found her. Ended the loose end. But you were useful. A brilliant journalist. Ambitious. Perfect leverage against Jackson when I needed it. So I watched, waited, guided your career toward this moment. Why are you telling me this? Her voice was barely audible. Because you need to understand the stakes. Publish that article and I don't just destroy your career. I reveal everything. Your mother's theft of classified technology. Your false identity. Immigration fraud. You'll lose everything you've built, just like she did. Jackson grabbed the phone from her shaking hand. Chen, this is over. We have everything. Morrison's team is moving in regardless of what you threaten. Ah, Jackson. Always the hero. Chen laughed. Did you tell Beatrice what happens to Aurora if I'm arrested? The kill switch I installed in the core code? The moment handcuffs touch my wrists, Aurora's servers wipe. Every bit of research. Every algorithm. 8 years of work. Gone. Jackson's face went white. You're bluffing. Am I? Test me. Let Morrison make her arrest. Watch your father's legacy disappear. Or make the smart choice. Walk away. Let Aurora launch my way. Beatrice gets to keep her life, her career, her precious moral high ground. You get your company. Everyone wins. Silence. Grace's radio crackled. Morrison here. We're ready to move on your signal. Beatrice looked at Jackson. Saw the calculation in his eyes. The terrible math of sacrifice. Don't, she said quietly. Don't you dare choose me over doing what's right. Beatrice. My mother ran because she knew surveillance like Aurora would destroy privacy forever. She died protecting people from this. If we back down now, she died for nothing. Jackson's jaw clenched. If we move forward, you lose everything. Your identity, your career, maybe your freedom. Then I lose it honestly. She stood on shaking legs, took the phone back. Chen, you're wrong about one thing. I'm not your daughter. Daughters are raised, loved, protected. You're just the man who killed my mother. She pressed publish. The article went live across Forbes' platform. Millions of readers, immediate notifications. The truth spreading like wildfire. You stupid girl, Chen hissed. You've destroyed yourself. Maybe, but I took you down with me. Grace spoke into her radio. Morrison, go now! Through Grace's tablet, they watched the Aurora launch event. Marcus Chen stood near the stage, confident in his tailored suit. Then FBI agents swarmed. Cameras captured every moment as Chen was handcuffed, his face transforming from shock to rage. The servers, Jackson breathed, pulling up his phone. The kill switch. They watched the Aurora system status, code flickering, files beginning to delete. Then it stopped. Grace smiled grimly. I found his kill switch 3 days ago. Disabled it, but we kept that information classified. Let him think he had leverage. Jackson stared at her. You magnificent genius. I learned from the best, sir. Beatrice's phone exploded with notifications. Messages from Maxwell, other journalists, news outlets demanding interviews, but also messages of support, other reporters who'd been silenced by Chen, families of Aurora engineers he'd threatened. The truth was spreading faster than Chen could contain it. Agent Morrison appeared in the parking garage, flanked by 2 agents. Ms. Mendez, Mr. Bennett, I need you both to come with me. Official statements. Lots of paperwork. She smiled slightly. Though I should mention, our investigation into Ms. Mendez's identity has concluded she entered the country legally as a child refugee with her mother. No fraud, no criminal activity. Whatever Chen claimed was fabricated. Beatrice's knees nearly buckled again. My mother was a whistleblower who helped expose Chen's early surveillance network. She saved countless lives. The file is sealed, but I thought you should know. Tears she'd been holding back finally broke free. Jackson pulled her close, letting her sob against his chest while agents and Grace politely looked away. 3 months later, Beatrice stood in what used to be Jackson's office. The space was different now. Less intimidating, more human. Photos on the desk, plants in the corners, windows opened to let in actual air. Jackson entered carrying 2 coffee cups, significantly less polished than before. Jeans, a simple shirt. No tie. He'd stepped down as CEO during the investigation. Though the board had quietly offered to reinstate him once everything was resolved, he'd declined. I spent 8 years building an empire, he'd told her. Maybe it's time to build something that matters instead. Now he ran a nonprofit dedicated to transparent renewable energy development. Aurora had launched clean, the surveillance code stripped out, operating exactly as intended to save lives. His wealth was significantly diminished. His reputation still recovering, but when he smiled at her, handing over her coffee, he looked lighter than she'd ever seen him. Your article won the Investigative Journalism Award, he said. Maxwell called. He's bragging to everyone that he knew you had it in you. Maxwell tried to fire me twice during the investigation. Details. She laughed, accepting the coffee. They stood at the window overlooking Central Park together. Do you regret it? Jackson asked quietly. Everything you sacrificed? Beatrice thought about her mother. About the truth. About the millions of people who would never know their privacy had been protected because of the choices made in that parking garage. No, she said. Do you? Not for a second. He turned to face her fully. Though I do regret the manipulation, the lies. She kissed him, cutting off the apology she'd heard 100 times. I know, she said against his lips. I forgave you around the 70th apology. You can stop now. His arms wrapped around her waist. What if I don't want to stop? Then I'll write another exposé about how Jackson Bennett is actually a decent human being pretending to be tortured about his past. That would destroy my reputation completely. Good. Your dark brooding billionaire image needed updating. Anyway, they stood there, wrapped in each other, watching the city move below. 2 people who'd started as enemies, built a foundation on lies, and somehow found truth in the ruins. Grace knocked on the doorframe. Sorry to interrupt, But there's someone here to see Ms. Mendez. Elena Voss stood in the doorway, looking smaller than Beatrice remembered. Broken. I'm testifying against Chen, Elena said without preamble. Full cooperation. I wanted you to know. And to say I'm sorry for what I did to you, both of you. Beatrice studied the woman who'd tried to manipulate her, saw desperation, regret, the same choice she'd faced, the same difficult decision. Why are you really here? Beatrice asked. Because Chen killed my sister, threatened my family if I didn't help him, and because I want to sleep at night again. Elena's voice cracked. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know the truth. Jackson moved to Beatrice's side, a silent show of support. The truth is complicated, Beatrice said finally. People do terrible things for understandable reasons, and sometimes the bravest thing is admitting you were wrong. Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you. After she left, Jackson pulled Beatrice close again. You're too forgiving, says the man who gave me evidence to destroy him. Fair point. They stood in comfortable silence. Survivors of a war fought in boardrooms and parking garages, winners not because they'd avoided sacrifice, but because they'd chosen to pay the price for something bigger than themselves. So what now? Jackson asked. You're the award-winning journalist. I'm the reformed billionaire. Where does that leave us? Beatrice smiled, turning in his arms to face him properly. I think it leaves us at the beginning. The real beginning. No lies, no manipulation. Just two people who've seen the worst of each other and chose to stay. Anyway, that sounds terrifying. It is. And complicated. Extremely. And probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. She kissed him again, deeper this time. A promise. A choice. A future built on truth instead of lies. Outside the window, the city continued its endless rhythm. Millions of lives intersecting. Stories beginning and ending. Somewhere out there, another journalist was chasing another truth. Another CEO was making difficult choices. The world kept turning, complicated and messy and real. But in this moment, in this room, two people who'd fought through manipulation and betrayal and sacrifice had found something worth more than empires or careers or reputations. They'd found each other. And that, Beatrice thought as Jackson smiled against her lips, was the only story that mattered. The end.